Hello and welcome back to the Innovate Eco podcast and the Startup Diaries. It's the mini series where me and my brother Matt are attempting to build our own planet positive business, and we're doing it right here in the open on podcast form. Yeah. Hi Matt, how you doing?
Hello. Very good, yeah. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah. Actually, well, I say that, like I'm actually feeling a little bit under the weather. I don't know, that's just the default in very British way of like immediately saying you're fine and then yeah, realizing actually maybe not.
We
Oh
could
well.
power through today.
Yeah, we'll power through. We'll power through. Yeah, welcome back to all the listeners who've listened previously, and welcome to new listeners if you're joining us already. I would recommend listening to the previous episodes of this mini series just to get a bit of the context. But yeah, we've been building our own planet positive fashion brand, clothing brand here on this podcast. And yeah, I guess we've been starting every episode, haven't we, with a bit of an elevator pitch. Maybe I'll get to that in a second.
Yeah, I think that after all the formalities, we can get
Yeah,
straight into that.
after the formalities, we'll get into that because I do think it's important. But I just wanted to say, firstly, again, we set ourselves the target in, was it episode 2 to validate the idea to get 3 sales in 48 hours, and we absolutely smashed that. So we're still here, we're still progressing after that. Thanks again to everyone that put down those deposits. You will be one of our super VIPs, and we will be in touch over the coming weeks as the idea and things evolve. And yeah, you will be guaranteed one of the first t-shirts for that deposit that you put down. And yeah, for anyone that didn't sign up as a super VIP, then don't worry, there's still other options. And if you go to nolongerknown.com now, then you'll see very near the top there is a sign up option there, and that is to sign up to hear when we're going to release our first drop. And if you sign up there, you'll be notified. You'll be make sure that you're in line for when we do the first drop and you don't miss out. And then there's also another option once you've clicked through to become a VIP, so not a super VIP, just a VIP. And that will give you, for just a very small deposit, I'll give you access to a Discord server we're setting up, which will allow you to give us ideas and contribute to the kind of building of the brand as well. And it'll also guarantee you one of the first designs with a slight discount as well. So yeah, sign up to be a VIP and you will get all those added extras. I think that's it for the admin.
What are we saying for the VIPs? Is it £1,
Yeah,
$1?
literally just a pound or a dollar. So really not much, but it's a way of, again, kind of similar to what we were doing with the validation before. It's like, here's a little contribution to show that they're a little bit more serious than just signing up to an email list. And that will help us give a better idea of kind of the demand and things like that, and helps us build towards our pre-launch and crowdfunding launch if we go down the crowdfunding route.
And before we go into the elevator pitch, what are we talking about today?
That's good point. Good point.
I'm chairing this meeting.
So yeah, after we've done the previous episodes on validating the idea, and then we've done the last episode was on branding, or we did what the hell are we going to do next? So we started talking about what we're going to do next, and we talked about branding with Ash last week, which was a really hopefully insightful deep dive into how we came up with the brand and how that's evolving. And this week we're talking about how we build an audience, because it's all well and good having a really nice fun brand and an idea for a business, but if we've got no one to buy it or to follow it, then yeah, that's something that probably needs tackling. Am I right?
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, we'll get into that.
And as usual, I've prepared a quiz for you, which is based around, well, in my notes, it's just called Hype Quiz, based around kind of hype culture
Nice.
and that kind of, yeah, limited drop fashion brands.
Mm.
And I have to say, it is the best quiz I've ever made. Or is that just
Okay.
hype?
Is that building that tension? Nice. Yeah, cool. Well, I look forward to it. It works. Wow. We'll get into that in this episode about how we're gonna lean into that idea. Um, but yeah, shall we? I always forget about the elevator pitch bit. After we finished recording the last episode, Should probably, should probably do a bit of revision.
Well, like we always say, you don't want to nail it too soon into the series, and hopefully eventually it'll come naturally anyway. So I reckon just go for it.
Okay, right. Here we go. I just also don't feel like it's fair that I always have to do it, but fine. It's fine. I'll just
We
be
are
really
one.
good at it, and you won't be able to do it.
Okay, one day. I can do it one day.
Okay, okay. Here we go. So the brand is called No Longer Known, and it's going to be it is good start there. The brand No Longer Known is a planet positive clothing company where we are doing limited drop t-shirts initially, where each t-shirt is a unique design linked to an endangered species which you probably never heard of. And the number of t-shirts that we're going to release of that design are linked to the number of that species that are left in the wild. And not only that, but as part of it, we're going to do each design is going to be in collaboration or done by a local artist, local to where that species is found in the wild. And we're going to, for some of the funds will go towards that artist, and then we're also going to give some of the money, the designs, to a charity that is supporting that particular species.
Nice. I think that was the best one yet. That was
That's good. We're
concise.
going in the right direction.
Yeah. I think we should.
Still a little bit long, and it's still slightly too long as an elevator.
If you compared it to the first episode, I think you talked for about 5 minutes and you forgot to say half of the stuff. So I think we're coming in the right direction.
Yes.
We should really have a sound effect that before you start doing it, it's like bong.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we create an elevator that's like a 30-second like lift music.
Yeah. And then and then it's like maybe it's timed, and then at the end of 30 seconds, it's like floor turn.
Yeah. Yes, I like that. Yeah. Like we can work out how many floors I need to do the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll work on that. Yeah. The other one I've heard outside the elevator pitch is like you've somehow ended up in the back of a taxi with like some high flying investor, and it's a 5 minute, I feel like it's not going to be a 10-second taxi, is it? So that feels like
You
would have ages then. So
I pitched an idea once to one of the directors of the company I work for in the back of a taxi once,
there you go.
and he immediately dismissed it.
Dismissed you or dismissed the idea?
Dismissed the idea. You didn't go. He fired me.
Yeah, erotic mini golf. You've gone too far.
Immersive erotic mini golf.
Yeah. On a side note, before we get into the main episode, I've been testing the idea of savory vapes with a few people, and annoyingly, like, seems to get loads more traction than No Longer Known. So anyway, we've got a good backup, or maybe someone's already listened to the podcast and has taken, and we'll be walking down the street one day and hang on, boom soup, right. Anyway, okay, on to the actual episode. And as I said at the start, we're going to be talking about building an audience. How the hell does a brand new brand, where both the founders don't really have a following, although we can talk a little bit about that and how we maybe will lead into that, but we are really starting from scratch here, aren't we, Matt? And this is potentially, when people are thinking about starting a business today, it's like there's huge opportunity compared to what there might have been even like 5 years ago in terms of the internet and social media and access to different tools and things like that. But weirdly, that might even make it more daunting because there's just so much happening. But yeah, no small feat.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was doing a little bit of reading about these kind of limited fashion brands, and yeah, a lot of the ones I feel like I'm not really in the loop with a lot of them. But some of the ones that I had heard of were like set up by someone who used to be the creative director of like a huge fashion brand, or like someone who worked with Kanye West and then decided to do their own thing.
Yeah, like Pharrell with the Billionaire Boys Club one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like he has networks and millions of followers, which we don't yet. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, it's a lot easier these days to reach people around the world. Imagine doing something like this in a pre-internet age. Feels almost impossible. But alongside that, I don't know, we can talk about this
There's
in
more
more detail.
noise, right?
There's more noise, but there's also like a lot. It's like what it feels like a lot of it's marketing, and
Mm.
from my limited experience, marketing's expensive, and influencers like I've read how much some influencers pay charge to do one post about a thing. It's like eye-watering amounts of money.
Mm.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to like. Obviously, we're not going to go straight in paying thousands of pounds for someone to do a post about a t-shirt, but maybe one day.
Yeah, and that's something that I've had experience of trying to do in the past with various bits of marketing and social media is putting money into ads. And you might actually see quite a bit of engagement, but there's a difference between getting a few followers or getting likes on a post and getting building the audience that you want. And particularly
Mm,
with something like what we're trying to build is quite it's quite niche. It's quite I think that's a good thing. I think in today's you don't want to build something that's for everyone. And as you said just before, now you can build quite a niche, like really engaged but slightly smaller audience globally, who you don't have to try and appeal to everyone. But then finding those people is easier through these ad kind of meta ads and things like that. You
mm,
can target audiences more. But you're right, like they are expensive, and if you get them wrong, and you can spend. And I know it's quite common for new brands that are starting out to go, "Oh, I'll just throw a load of money at ads," and if you get it wrong, you can just be optimizing for the wrong metric and
yeah.
not end up with what you need.
But yeah, it's a good point. Like, we don't need to start off super huge. I don't know if you saw those. It's in the news recently in London where there was like mad, almost like mini riots because these fashion brands had announced they were doing like a free giveaway, and they
Mm,
just like slowly drip fed this information about how they were going to do this thing,
right.
built up loads of hype, and then on the day there was just like hundreds and hundreds of like basically children, like teenagers,
Mm.
just like running around Soho trying to like find where these special drops were going to happen. And it's like the perfect example of how just like people can be whipped up into a frenzy around basically, as far as I'm
Scarcity.
aware, like these fashion brands, they don't have a, well, very biased term, but they don't have a very interesting story. It's just like clothes.
It's just the scarcity thing, right? It's just
Yeah,
that
yeah,
you want need to have this, and this is the whole one of the whole reasons for starting the brand is like, well, can we lean into that and actually try and do something good with it rather than just creating nonsense?
yeah. And it seems like a lot of the hype is also based around the opportunity for people to make money reselling. Like, not they
Mm,
don't actually care about the product. It's just like I could sell this for more.
yeah, yeah, and which is something we want to try and avoid. And an interesting side note for maybe a future episode.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we want to try and create more of ownership of that product and then become part of the brand and feel like you want to keep hold of it. So that's definitely something. And there'll probably be things, as with all businesses, when you build it, like you were stuff that happens that you didn't plan for, and we have to work around that and adapt as we go. But that'll make
Yeah.
an interesting podcast, if nothing else.
But it's exciting that the possibility in the future of teenagers going absolutely wild for a mountain chicken.
I know, yeah, that's quite
And
fun.
they'll be talking about it in the playground.
So, do you think it is? It's definitely not a new thing, right? I was trying to think back to when I was at school, when I was that age, and that the thing that came to mind, first of all, I know this has had a bit of a renaissance recently, is Pokemon cards,
Mm,
and that feeling of scarcity there and in the playground. And do you think it's a thing that's more unique to kids, or is it just hyper? They're just online more and they're socializing more, so that it like gets that hype
yeah,
building quicker.
it's a good question. I need to do more research into it,
Because
but
adults definitely aren't immune to it. You get loads of like
yeah,
collectors,
yeah,
like
yeah,
stamp
yeah.
collectors or like model railway collectors.
Yeah, exactly. Also, just like anecdotally, I've walked past the Supreme shop in London before with a massive queue outside, and that wasn't all, that was like people of all ages.
Mm.
I don't know what it was about those brands in the last couple of weeks that seemed to appeal to
Mm.
like teenagers more, but no, I think I don't know. Yeah, I think personally, I was more obsessive as a teenager in terms of like, I don't know, music, for example. I would like get obsessed around a couple of bands and buy all their music and
Mm.
try and find out everything about them. Whereas now, I don't have that. I just listen to lots of different things more casually. I don't have
Do you think it's a
like
time thing though? Why do you think that is?
I don't yeah, what I got more time on my hands when I was at school.
Yeah, like you weren't thinking about all the life stuff. Life gets in the way and work and things. You were just that was your main focus. It was things like that.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like it's potentially something to do with identity as well. You're like trying to create an
Mm.
identity as a teenager. Like you want to be part of some kind of tribe. Whereas
Yeah.
now, I feel like I don't need to do that
Mm.
as much. But I don't know.
It's an interesting one for when we talk about positioning and something we could make. We'll probably have to try and test through our marketing and stuff, which you can do, like, and see which I like the idea of engaging with a slightly kind of more Gen Z crowd because I feel like the conservation organizations appeal to them maybe even less than to millennials.
Yeah,
But
and they're the future.
and they're the future, as we've said before. But yeah, we're like then it's designing for not yourself as much
Hmm.
because it's slightly younger crowd. So that will come with its own challenges. Maybe we'll have to get like a Gen Z consultant in.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know, but I like to think, maybe this is me being very naive, but I like to think that if we make a product that is really great, it will appeal to Gen Zs as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It maybe it's more about how you market it.
I think it's more on the marketing side than the product side personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, when it comes to that's why I think t-shirts are quite a good place to start because there's not as much subtlety and there's probably bigger wins if you went for something like a bit more like fashiony, but
Yeah.
like you're more likely to do something that's not in fashion,
Well,
whereas
yeah,
all those
definitely. Fashion
t-shirts.
changes so often, and I feel so old saying this, but I'm always shocked about what's in fashion
Hmm.
at any moment. Especially shoes. I've been buying some new shoes recently, and they all look mad. So yeah, I feel like t-shirts are that's kind of safe bet to start with. I feel like t-shirts, socks, and maybe caps.
Yeah, they're timeless, right?
Yeah, yeah, they're not evolving. I mean, t-shirt fit changes slightly, which
But
is
you just
actually
have
something
different fits, right?
we need to talk about
Yeah,
in an episode about suppliers and
yeah, the
actual
product, yeah.
because, well, yeah, there's so many different things you can do with regards to fit and
Mm.
complexities surrounding that, but that's for a future episode.
So yeah, anyway, back to building from scratch. I was thinking that yes, coming back to this point of how there's so much more available now. Like if you were building a brand, this same brand, let's say 30, 40 years ago. And there are some interesting case studies of t-shirt brands, like I think the Hundreds is one that came out of like skate culture. There's quite a lot of those skating brands, and they were really like bottom up from on the ground, like
Mm,
started in LA and had little pop-up shops, and they were they would go to parties and stuff and try and like be within the scene and then organically grow from there,
yeah,
which is still obviously an option that, but I think we're not in a position to do that as much. So
yeah,
that was really the only option for building the hype was kind of starting small and growing from.
yeah. And you'd see like you one of like your favorite skateboarder in his like VHS video wearing a brand, and then
Yeah.
that would be that's like the influence of the 90s.
Mm.
It is interesting. On a side note, when you said that, I realized that a lot of the brands that I've been looking at are did start as skate brands and then moved into fashion, like Supreme,
Mm.
Palace, and then like Stussy. I don't know if that's how you say it, but they
Yeah,
started as
yeah.
like a surf brand. But it's
Streetwear.
interesting. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I need to do more research.
But yeah, that was really the only way to do it unless you already had a big audience. Whereas now, I guess there's a number of options. Like it depends how quickly you want to do it. There's doing stuff like we're doing here, which is creating content ourselves and like trying to use this is the big thing that's available now that probably wasn't available back then, is the ability to create personal brands alongside the brand itself. And it's something we've been discussing, isn't it? Like, how do maybe we create slightly different like marketing channels through utilizing our own personal brands.
Yeah, because some people might be drawn in by the environmental angle more so than others in the artistic angle, like local artists, and I don't know, the scarcity thing as well, maybe. I don't know how we figure that out, but yeah, I agree. Different people will respond differently to different angles. I guess finding that out.
And there's no denying social media is a slog, though. It's like just starting out when you've got those. We started the No Longer Known Instagram page and not having any followers, and you do posts and gradually, and just coming to terms with the fact that, yeah, you can use ads to fast track that, but there's still going to be this curve where it feels like a slog for a while and then it
definitely
grows more and more.
There's also the production value required to seem legitimate, at least in my eyes, is quite high.
Yeah.
Like if I ever see an advert that seems a bit budget, kind of like delegitimizes it a bit for me. It's just like a guy in his bedroom.
And that's so that's a really interesting one, and something that I'd want to talk about a bit, because someone pointed me towards a potential interesting similar brand called Salt. I think I sent you a link to this, Matt, but for anyone out there that hasn't heard of Salt, which is probably quite likely because they're very new.
SAULT.
SULT, and I'll leave a link in the description off, and I'll put up a picture of the brand logo for anyone that's watching. But they have created, or they are creating a hydration brand, they call it, and it's really vague of what it's going to be. And they haven't got any products, just like us. And they are trying to build the brand in the open and build a following. And the tactic that they've taken is they've got the two founders, again, very similar to us. Bit unfair because one of them seems to have a big following already, but she does more like lifestyle and kind of trendy content. Then there's the guy who's more from the business background, and he does these very candid to camera bits about the brand and the brand identity, and he can get away with that. Like you were saying, he doesn't need to be super polished because it's his account. People like that authenticity. And then the actual brand page itself, more around the stuff behind the scenes, filming marketing videos and stuff. So you've got these different ways you can tell the same story.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
But then their main posts on their page are like super well edited, snappy, flashy videos, I would say.
But you can do that now.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Anyone can make fairly decent videos with tools that are available without needing like expertise. I think there's a lot we can do, and some of the behind the curtain stuff and the stuff is a little bit cringy, but I do think there is huge potential in that. So they've built a following very quickly without any products. They've already got loads of people signed up to their pre-launch mailing list. Just looking at this now, and they've been getting on other podcasts and other channels. So they've shown that you can build a following fairly quickly. Although I do think this one person already having a few 100,000 followers is a bit helpful, but it still makes me optimistic that it's possible.
It is interesting because do they have a what's their elevator pitch? Like, how are they different from like Lucozade? What are the other big hydration brands? Prime. Are they basically trying to cash in on that like Prime energy drink?
Good question. Let's go on the website quickly.
Because if there isn't anything that's like, we have this new technology which will hydrate you better or faster, it's kind of interesting that they can generate a following just based on like well-marketed content. And it makes me feel positive about what we're doing, because I think our product has value.
Yeah. It's not just, if it was just, if that would worry me if we didn't have a story, if it was just another t-shirt brand, if it was just
Yeah,
another
yeah,
skate brand and we weren't skaters or whatever,
yeah,
at least we have some kind of story behind it. And that, yeah, that does give me that extra bit of hope because then there's other types of content. It literally, when you go on the website, it's drinksalt.com. It just says hydration reinvented, dropping March 25th, get early access, only dropping 100.
yeah. What? Like, also, in terms of like, I don't know, I don't want
Rag on salt
to
too much.
rag on salt, but like, of all the things that you want to be limited, surely like hydration, you want to like have access to that more than one.
Yeah, I don't get it. But why I say it makes me optimistic is that if they can do it for something that is very confusing and not really, doesn't really feel unique or that it's solving an issue, then surely we can do it. So then the question raises its head as previously, how do we start creating content for social media without designs? Have you had any more thoughts about this? Obviously, there's a lot we can do about the story. We can talk about, do you think it's going to be about finding the artists or starting to find the artists and posting content about that? And anyone listening, by the way, we'd love your feedback on kind of what you want to see, particularly those people that have put down deposits already. Like, are you happy not seeing the designs till the launch? Like, do you want, like, what would help build that hype, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, what you were just saying about Salt not really saying anything about what their product is and still being able to build a following gives me some hope that maybe we don't. And if we don't, I think it would be more or very important to basically go in a bit more detail about the process of finding the artist because then it's like, I really want to see how this ends. And it makes it look like we're putting in some effort.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know, yeah, if we just keep saying like that we're doing some designs, they're gonna be great, um, which I do believe. But
Yeah.
showing like, um, I guess just going into some detail about how we're contacting artists, or I don't know, yeah, maybe I will bump into some interesting artists on my holiday to the Dominican Republic and I can interview them or something. I don't know, like.
Yeah. Even if we don't end up using them, it's a good way of explaining the idea with something tangible.
Yeah, and then I guess yeah, this all this stuff needs to make it to social media, and I guess um yeah, I mean I guess this is related, but the quantity of content. I remember someone, maybe it was you, saying that for YouTube, maybe this is more for long format stuff, but you really need to be posting like very regularly or at least
Mm.
consistently, whether it be like one post a week. I don't think we'll ever get to the point in the near future where we'll be doing a post a day
Yeah.
and factoring that into some kind of marketing plan schedule.
And it's about, like we've said at the start, we're not afraid to put a bit of money into this at the start, like just utilizing that money smartly. Like, is it in getting someone to help with the social media rather than plowing it all into ads and just getting frustrated? Is it actually getting someone to work like on the content with us
Yeah,
like, full time? Is that a smarter way of using some money? There's a few
I'd
different options there.
I'd be more inclined to do that. Yeah, I think advertising at the moment is kind of pointless because if we do drive loads of followers to the page, there's not much to see. Whereas if you do it the other way around, build like a quite comprehensive profile that when people do find us, they can like dive into it and catch up on what's been going. Probably more likely to happen organically as well, because I don't know, that like organic growth of people seeing something they like and sharing it with a friend is potentially more powerful than boosted posts or whatever.
Yeah, I think boosted posts from the start only work if you've got a really unique product or something that's solving a real issue straight away. One that jumps to mind that I always get advertised is like little indoor herb garden type things.
Yeah.
You know the one. And that's like you see it as you're scrolling and you go, oh, that looks really cool. That would be really useful. I would like to find out more. You've basically got 2 seconds, the ultimate elevator, the fastest elevator when you're on social media. And if it's not already in the consciousness, or it's not a really like the design isn't really impactful, I don't know. Like it'd have to be a really smart video. I think it could be done,
I think it could be
but
done,
it
and I
would
think
need a few iterations and testing, I think.
yeah, I think that should be a goal though. I can imagine like an Instagram reel length video, 30 seconds or something, where it's like our elevator pitch, but alongside like nice editing and nice content. How we get around not having designs. It's probably possible. What like Salt are managing to do that.
Mm.
Because that's people need to understand the brand, and I feel like people these days are more likely to engage with a 30-second video than a blog post or whatever.
Yeah, I think testing different content types is good as well, and it just increases your reach. Coming back to followings, the only following I have really is on LinkedIn
Yeah,
through
yeah.
building this podcast, and I'm trying to do the YouTube content, obviously the podcast as well. So we've got the podcast audience listening, which would be great. By the way, anyone that wants to sign up, go to nolongerknown.com and get on that mailing list. Would be really, really helpful as a starting point, and also follow the new No Longer Known page on Instagram and our Instagrams as well. I think Instagram's going to be a big one, and we'll maybe think about TikTok at some point. But yeah, I'll put all the links to the different things to follow, so you can follow, because every social media platform is going to have slightly different content. That makes it more challenging, because there's even more content to produce.
Yeah.
It's like opportunity and challenge at the same time, right? It's like one of these frustrating things with now is once a brand makes it big, they can just dominate everywhere, and but again, it just creates more opportunity, but even more work.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know what I can do with LinkedIn.
Yeah, how many
It's quite
followers?
professional.
How many?
Only like 5,000,
Okay.
but it's quite professional, but it does, like, it's all around nature, and my day job is around, I'm an ecologist, and there is that. So if I can build content, use that to get some audience, and I'm sure there's something that can be done there as long as.
Yeah, I think that's another important angle is in terms of legitimacy. It's like if we can get some people talking about it who are in that world, then I think that's quite good.
And there's opportunities there for doing shared content, maybe getting on someone else's podcast. These are the other opportunities that are out there that weren't there before. Like coming back to that example of you mentioned of the skateboard, you had to either get on a VHS or you had to get on the radio,
Yeah.
or like the local radio, or then like, whereas now you can get on the equivalent of international radio if you can get on someone's YouTube channel or podcast, or
Yeah,
something, which is
yeah.
quite interesting.
And that's also another, like, I'm well up for doing that, but we would need to have something for people who are interested. If they then search, like, if we went on a podcast now, got loads of interest, and they go to our Instagram page, it's like 3 posts.
Yeah. See,
They need to
exactly.
they need to arrive at like a super professional page with numerous like interesting posts, and even if we don't have the design or anything they can do, they could sign up to be a VIP, or just join the mailing list. Yeah, I think we can't we need to do that before we
Yeah.
get publicity.
So so you're thinking like the main page would just be, like, will be more professional, and we maybe use mine and your pages to do slightly more candid stuff, or is it?
I
This is
think
getting into in the weeds a bit, but is it like stories versus reels? This is getting a bit technical with Instagram, but
I think it could be both. I think it just needs to like. I think it can be a combination of both on the main page, but I'd say maybe like 70% professional, 30% candid. I don't know, or 50
yeah.
50.
Just looking at Salt again. Salt are getting so much publicity on this podcast, but they started off on their page doing exactly as I described, having the more professional stuff on the Salt page, and then on the two founders pages having slightly more candid stuff. But then more recently, they have been doing these on the Salt page. They've been doing like behind the scenes, and they have made it a little bit more candid. So maybe
But
it's fine.
are those behind the scene ones still like high production value?
I'll just watch one and I'll put it on the video now, and the viewers can see and judge for themselves.
Okay, great.
They're not high production value. Clearly done on a phone, and it's got that kind of comedic. Oh, we're kind of what we're doing a bit here with this like building in the open. It's like there's a lot of outtakes, and they're leaning into that a bit more. If that's what people seem to find appealing about that, is like they're literally posting everything. Yeah, I don't know. We need to take that away and think about it, because I quite like the idea of at least having part of the brand remain more professional. And I think my gut is that I would happily use my own Instagram, or which I've been posting like podcast clips on from here, for example, then posting on there the more behind the scenes stuff, and then potentially using that in stories and things. But
Yeah.
That's my gut. But TBC, we'll come back to that.
Yeah, TBC. Also the factor of like, we don't live in the same city, so like doing regular kind of video shoots is probably not possible. Could batch film loads or do film our own sections independently. All possible. But yeah, something to talk about maybe.
Yeah.
In the future.
Cool. Right. Well, anything else before we move on to the quiz? Anything we haven't covered in terms of it? I think it's just that it's testing, not jumping into ads too early, but understanding the power there, using lots of different platforms, and figuring out what the hell we're going to do for content if we haven't got designs.
I think let's move on to the quiz, because I think it will raise some more questions. The first question, relating to something that you asked earlier in the episode, was how long have these brands been around for? So I'm using Supreme as a kind of base for a lot of these questions. When was Supreme founded?
I've read this recently, and it shocked me. It was a lot earlier than I thought. I'm going to say like mid 2000s, maybe 2006. What?
BC. No, AD. Yeah, 94, which kind of surprised me as well. And again, I've not done my research, but I imagine the brand has evolved a lot since then and wasn't always kind of limited edition hype-based drops. But tune in next week. I'll do my research.
Wow. I mean, that's crazy and slightly depressing in a way, because they look like an overnight success to many, but as so often is the case, have been around for ages.
So yeah, I mean, after building that brand, 13 years later, no, 23 years later, they did a big collaboration in 2017 with a luxury brand. Who was it? I can give you multiple choice for this.
Okay, yeah.
Is it A, Gucci, B, Louis Vuitton, C, Prada, or D, Balenciaga?
Making an appearance again. I'm going to go...
It's Louis Vuitton. I thought it was interesting to include this because I do like to think one day in the future we could do a big collaboration, maybe not with a fashion brand, because I think there's a lot of issues associated with that, but with maybe, I don't know, Chris Packham.
Yeah, I mean, collaboration is a big thing, isn't it, in the drop world? It tends to be that they collaborate with Adidas or one of those, or even one of the higher end fashion brands. I'm interested to see where that can go, and maybe one day we can push some of those brands to change their ways a bit. Maybe we can say, look, we're only doing a collaboration with you, Louis Vuitton, if you sort your supply chains out and start using more I don't know, something. Yeah, this would be an amazing position to be in, that we can help them to do that. But I think more and more, I do like the idea, as I said from the start, of using the brand to try and highlight some of the issues in the fashion world.
Well, then, I think we need to be quite careful about not assisting these huge brands with greenwashing.
Yes, definitely.
All that kind of stuff. But I mean, that's
maybe turning down a collaboration would be just as exciting.
Yeah, true. That big marketing thing where we turn down millions of pounds, but it's millions of pounds worth of marketing. Anyway, moving on. Question. So this is kind of a question in two parts. So I don't know if this is pre the Louis Vuitton collaboration or post, but also in 2017, Supreme were well, no, an investment firm acquired a majority stake, but for how much?
I also read this recently, and it was equally shocking. I want to say it's in the billions.
I think, well, it's okay. My second part of this question is they were acquired again in
Oh,
2020.
that might be what I read.
And the question regarding that is what was the valuation of the company
Yeah,
in
that was
2020?
what I read. So initially, what was the year?
2017, an investment firm acquired a majority stake. How much was that majority stake?
12 million.
500 million.
Wow.
So that's not bad. And then, yeah, in 2020, what was the valuation
Yeah,
of?
this is what I read. I think it was like 2 billion or something.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. 2.1 bill, which is mad.
That is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, imagine that, but raising awareness
Well,
for.
imagine that the majority of that money, or at least a big part of that money, going into good causes.
Well, yeah,
That's what we're trying to do. That's why we're trying to. That's the whole point. The whole
yeah,
if that money is out there, right? That shows to me there is abundance of finance in the world, and it's just not going to the mountain chicken. It's going to
yeah,
some guy in where's Supreme from? I don't even know, but some that is
American.
going to that majority shareholder, whoever that was.
Yeah, Johnny Supreme.
Yeah.
Um, okay, next question. You'd be able to tell this question was written by ChatGPT. Which of the following is a key way hype-based fashion brands create anticipation before a product release?
Mm.
Is it A, announcing products months in advance with heavy advertising? Is it B, teasing limited edition drops through social media and influencers? Is it C, selling products in bulk to department stores? Or is it D, offering pre-orders for every item?
Feels like it's more than one of those.
Yeah, this is why I said it's by ChatGPT, because I don't. It's given one of them as the answer. But I
I
think
reckon it's given D as the answer.
it actually gave B, teasing limited edition drops through social media and influencers, which also surely that's the same as announcing products months in advance with heavy advertising.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I don't know
Thanks,
why I
ChatGPT.
left this in there,
Thank you.
but clearly it's trying to say it's about building
Yeah.
anticipation.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Two questions to go. Question 5, which we've kind of touched on this in the episode already. Which of the following platforms is most commonly used for reselling hype fashion items?
Mm.
Is it Amazon, resale market? Is it B, StockX? Is it C, Vinted? Or D, eBay?
Hi. It was the second one.
Yeah, the one you haven't heard of.
Yes.
Yes, correct. StockX.
StockX. Okay.
No, I also hadn't heard of that. And question 6, on a slightly more light-hearted note, the Antisocial Social Club, which, have you heard of that brand? Hopefully you don't know the answer to this already, but they use a parody of Nike's slogan. But what is it? Is it A, don't do it? Is it B, are you going to do it or what? Is it C, pull your finger out? Or is it D, just don't it? And
Great
if you're
choices
not
again.
familiar, the Nike slogan is just do it.
I'm going to go with B.
Are you going to do it or what?
Yeah. I like
I'm
that one.
happy to say that it's D, just don't it.
That's also good. I like them all. I like them all.
So I quite like that because it kind of relates to what we were talking about with Ash about like a slight humorous element to marketing and branding, and I guess it's kind of a tricky thing for us to do because what we're talking about is very serious. But I don't think we don't want it to be too overwhelming and potentially depressing. And injecting some fun into it.
And I wonder if maybe the way we do that, without getting too deep into this topic, is from taking the piss out of. They're taking the piss out of fashion brands. We can take the piss out of these limited drop hype brands. I think
Yeah, I
that's the
like
way to
that.
do it, because the whole thing is like, well, let's try and actually do something useful if we're going to bother raising hype. Like, why are we raising all this hype for something that doesn't really mean anything? So that's where I think we can bring the humor in.
So what are you thinking? Our slogan should be
Just do it.
Don't it?
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, I think that could get us into some hot water.
Yeah, let's go for just don't.
I think we can get rid of the just.
Okay.
Don't
it.
And that sounds a bit like dodo.
Don't it.
Dodo.
Again, on top of the elevator pitch, which already takes too long to explain. You need another elevator to explain the comedy slogan.
Don't it. I like it.
Right. Well, on that note, bombshell, is that the end of the quiz?
That's it.
And I do.
I'm going to give you 2 out of 7, which I think is your worst score yet.
Well, yeah. Improving the elevator pitch, not...
Sorry, 3. You got the mad ChatGPT question I'm giving to you as well. 3 out of 7.
Thanks. Very generous.
No, actually, 4 out of 7. Sorry. No, you got the 2 bill one as well, right? 1, 2, 3. No, it's 3, sorry. 3 out of 7.
3 out of 7.
Well,
thanks for that again, Matt. As always, that was a very enjoyable, if not quite tricky quiz.
And you might be wondering or recalling at the beginning of this episode, I was saying it's the best quiz I've ever written. That was a lie. That was pure hype.
There you go. Brilliant. What a way to end. Hopefully our t-shirts will create hype around something that's actually good and not, as you just said, creating hype for something very disappointing. So fingers crossed we get that right. Yeah, so thanks again, everyone that's listened this week and to other episodes. Do keep tuning in as we keep producing more content on here and also around the brand as we figure out how we build an audience. Do go to nolongerknown.com and sign up if you haven't done already to make sure that you're on that list. If you want to be a VIP and be a member of the Discord and have your say on what species we choose and maybe some of the artists and stuff like that as well, we're going to be offering the chance to do that if you join the VIP. And also, you'll get a discount and a guaranteed t-shirt as well. So go to nolongerknown.com for all that, and I'll leave various other links in the description for like our social media channels and things. But until the next episode, let's get back to marketing.
Yes, see you then.